If you are on social media and you like to follow all of the chatter that goes on about education, EverFi K-12 is on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And then I also have a Twitter. You can follow me there. I'm trying to up my game, if you will. I'm a little slow to start on Twitter, but it's really exciting to see all the news and all of the parents and educators that get on there and share their ideas. So if you are on Twitter, follow me too. All right, so just a little bit about me. My name is Mara. I am the Kentucky and West Virginia Schools Manager for EverFi. I live in Lexington with my husband and my puppy, and I have been with EverFi for just over a year. Before I was the schools manager for EverFi, I was a fifth grade teacher, and I was also a college admission counselor. So I'm very passionate about education, and I want to see our students in the Commonwealth succeed. And so it's been a great joy to be able to work in this position with EverFi because I'm able to serve the entire state. And then I've also been able to get to know West Virginia. So my basic role is to support educators that utilize our resources. And I'll share kind of throughout what that looks like, but I just want you all to know I'm going to be your point person. So you will never bug me by sending me an email or tweeting me. My phone number is in my signature. I'm more than happy to accommodate your needs and requests. And I actually posted this on Facebook yesterday just for like my personal teacher friends, but this is a crazy time and I just feel so much for you all. And if there is anything that I can do to take something off your plate, of course, in the realm of EverFi, I want to be able to do that for you guys. So again, please do not hesitate to reach out. I love being able to work with educators and students. Pre-COVID times, I was able to visit classrooms and go into schools, which I love too. So hopefully sometime in the near future, we can make that happen again. But in the meantime, reach out to me virtually. So I'm going to switch back and forth again, but I just want to know where you all are from. Where are you from? What do you teach? What grades do you work with? I'm going to switch back just so I can see your responses in the chat, but I would just love to know who I'm speaking with today. So I'm going to switch back really quickly so I can see your all's responses. Just share where you're from, what you teach. And you can chat that in the chat box. Oh, nice. Oh, and I should mention, I grew up in Georgetown. That's where I'm from. I went to Georgetown College in UK for my master's. Nice. I love seeing where everyone is from. Looks like we've got a good mix. Yes, go Scott County. My mom and dad always give me grief, though. They went to Lexington Catholic, so. All right. I love it. Well, thank you for sharing where you guys are from and what you teach. Feel free to keep jotting in your information, and the next time that I switch over, I'll catch up with you guys. Okay, so now jumping into kind of the meat of our time together, I want to first start with a high-level overview of EverFi for those of you that are not familiar at all. So we are a digital learning resource company. We're actually based in Washington, D.C., but we have implementation support across the country. So I'm here in Kentucky. I help out in West Virginia. I have two other colleagues that help out in North and Eastern Virginia. I work on a team in the Southeast, so I'm always, hearing what's going on in Tennessee and the Carolinas, all the way over to Arkansas. So we have people everywhere that are here to support educators that use EverFi. So even if you have a colleague or a family member that teaches out of state, I can connect you with their local schools manager so that they have a point person as well. But EverFi really started, I guess, a little bit over a decade ago. And we found that in order to kind of help fill some gaps in education, one of the most, I guess, visible issues that our founders had identified that needed addressing was systemic and generational poverty. And so when we first started, we created resources that were primarily focused on financial capability. So if you know EverFi, that might be like something that you associate with us. We still create resources within that content area, but over the past 10 years, thankfully, we've been able to grow and expand into other content areas as well. But the focus has always been on teaching students real world skills. And I know I am preaching to the choir here, but we all know that we can't even begin to challenge our students academically if they don't first feel healthy and safe and comfortable and nurtured in so many other dimensions. And so my hope is that by sharing these resources and in all of the different content areas, you can find something that will work for your students or maybe for your child at home. So again, just the focus is whole child education. We do have several academic focused resources too. So we definitely didn't want to leave that out, but we wanted to provide resources that maybe we're lacking in the field. So as we go through, I will share the different content areas and ways to utilize the resources. Before I get too much further, I do want to highlight that everything you'll see today is at no cost to schools. So you all will never have to pay for EverFi. Your schools, your districts will never have to pay for EverFi. And the way that we're able to provide these at no cost is through partnerships that we have with local, statewide, and national organizations, some of which you'll see on the screen. We also work with local folks like Whitaker Bank, Coach Calipari's Family Foundation, other smaller banks and organizations that help pay for schools to have access to the program. So I know lots of organizations were offering like free trials and 90-day free subscriptions to their products, but EverFi has always been free for schools and will continue to be, regardless of the climate. That's just been something that's important to us. And a lot of us are former educators, and we know that you all are already spending your own money on school supplies and everything, and we just wanted to be able to provide quality, standard aligned resources at no cost. So that is EverFi in a nutshell. We also provide free professional development like this, training, ongoing support in the form of me. So we're here for you, and we hope that you will take advantage of the resources. So this is a little bit of an overwhelming visual, but I wanted to put it up in front of you just so you could put your eyes on every single resource that we currently offer. So we have 20 plus resources across all of these different content area verticals. And we are always adding to this catalog. So you'll see here we have K through 12 resources, and coming this fall, we're going to be adding some additional ones to this catalog. And some of them that I'm really excited about, Vault, it was one of our oldest resources. We just re-released that, and that's actually a very popular resource in the state of Kentucky. So if you're looking for financial literacy for your younger kiddos, that's an awesome resource. And then another one I want to highlight here is vaping prevention. We heard from so many teachers in school communities this past school year about the need for education around this. And so schools managers, we reported to our product team, like, this is a need, we need to come up with something. And so we spent the entire year doing research and finding partners to help us create a course around vaping prevention. So that will be coming out this fall as well. So if there's ever anything that you think is a need that needs to be filled, please reach out to me. I love to share that feedback with our product team, and they're listening and working hard. So I want to take a moment to kind of zoom out a little bit and share what the platform looks like and how you would utilize it. So the way that our EverFi resources are designed is for flexible and supplemental implementation. They are not going to be a cure-all or a silver bullet, but our hope is that you find, one resource, one lesson that works, that adds value to what you're already doing. So each resource is broken down into individual lessons, and at the beginning and end of each of those lessons, students will take a quiz. So as the educator with your EverFi teacher account, you will get real-time reporting on the student's knowledge growth. So this is an awesome capability to have at all times, but especially during remote learning when you're not physically able to check in on students' growth. You will get that real-time reporting as soon as they've completed a quiz. You refresh your teacher dashboard and you'll have that information. And with that, it will track students' pace. So you get to see where they are within a resource and they are able to see their progress as well. So again, we design these with flexibility in mind. So if you don't have hours to dedicate to a child working on one specific program, that's not necessary. Students can self-pace and work through the resource when they do have time and when you have time. You will also have access to offline resources. So for every digital resource you see today, there is a whole catalog of offline resources that come along with it. So if you need lesson plans, if you need discussion guides, if you need a course outline or curriculum map, we share that as well because we want you all to make this your own. There is no one right way to use EverFi. If you just want to use the digital resource, you're welcome to. But if you want to kind of extend off of that, you have all of these offline resources at your fingertips to use as well. And then I mentioned our growing library. You will always have access to that. And then with some of our resources, we do have student scholarship opportunities available, and I'll share a little bit about that in a moment. Okay, so this next little bit will be a little bit of rapid fire. I'm going to share some quick details about some of our more popular resources that we see used in the state of Kentucky. Each year we put together an impact report for the state that shows what resources were used, how many students utilized these, and what their knowledge gains were. And so from that report, I pulled these popular resources because I thought it was a good mix of content areas as well as grades. So hopefully you find interest in one of these that I'll share. So WordForce is the first resource I wanted to share with you guys. This is actually one of our brand new resources. We just released it this spring. So it was popular in the fact that a lot of K2 educators requested an early literacy resource. So I'm excited to see how this gets utilized this school year. But this is perfect for your early literacy learners. So I envision, as a former elementary educator, that you can either use this in small groups or in centers or stations where you're kind of circulating students through and they're working on all of these literacy skills that are listed down there below on the featured literacy skills part. Again, the way that this resource is designed is that it's broken down into 15 games or lessons, and within that there are 5 levels. So students are constantly being the skills are being reinforced, they're being assessed, and the program is responding to those and giving feedback. Each game takes anywhere from about 8 to 10 minutes to complete. So again, we wanted to design these so that students aren't just like sitting on the computer for hours on end, working on the same lesson, but it's kind of quick and supplemental and flexible for you to be able to fit in where it makes the most sense for you. So that's WordForce. Excited to see how that gets rolled out this fall in Kentucky. Another elementary resource to highlight is Vault. I shared a little bit about this earlier, but we just revamped this course and gave it a good facelift. One of my favorite additions that we added this time around was a focus on socio-emotional skills in relation to financial capability. And so that's a nice little a new framework to kind of view this resource through. And I think anywhere we can sneak in SEL is crucial right now. So I love that about this resource. We see this used a lot in 4th and 5th grade social studies to kind of tie in with economic standards in the social studies. This is 5 lessons total, 15 minutes each. It can be used all the way up to 6th grade, but again, we mostly see it in 4th and 5th. There is also a little bit of a career exploration piece to this as well. So if you are wanting students to start to learn about income and what that means and to save and what a career is, they'll have the opportunity to explore those topics as well. So moving on up the ladder a little bit into middle school and even kind of dipping into high school, we have Ignition Digital Wellness and Safety. This is the most popular resource used in the state of Kentucky, and it has been for several years now. And I think that is because of many things. One, a lot of schools will utilize this at the very beginning of their school year with students as sort of a digital driver's license. So before students are able to check out their Chromebooks or work on their iPads or whatever technology it is, they have to complete this course and become certified. So I'll explain what that means in just a little bit, but basically it's kind of a rite of passage or a license to prove that they are able to be well and safe while using the internet and using a device. So this resource was another that we just recently revamped because with a focus on technology, we wanted to make sure that it was up to date and relevant because that realm is changing all the time. There are 6 lessons here. Each is about 30 minutes in length. We see this used a lot in middle school, but I see it used just as often in 9th grade, like in freshman seminar advisory type settings too. So students are learning about how to be safe on the internet, data privacy, screen time versus offline time, and how that can affect your mental health, how to interact online with communities, and your rights as well. So love this resource. It fits into so many different content areas, and it's very popular here in Kentucky. So this resource, Character Playbook, is an SEL resource that we see used primarily in middle school. It's all about building healthy relationships. So when I think back to my middle school days, I kind of associate this course with what we had, which were peer mediators. So where you would sit down and help facilitate a conversation between 2 peers that were having a conflict. This kind of serves that purpose in a way. So you are equipping students with the language and tools that they would need to facilitate healthy relationships in middle school and even into high school. So they're understanding their peers and the way that they are influenced. They're able to identify emotions and label those. They learn about how to communicate effectively and then how to resolve any conflicts that do come up. So again, this is a great resource to be used in, we see it used a lot in counseling settings, but it can be used in really any content area because these are kind of those like back to school norm setting expectation type courses that I can see fitting into that space. All right, and into high school, I'm going to share a few resources here. EverFi Financial Literacy, this is our oldest resource, but again, we just gave this a facelift as well. We see this used all the way 9th through 12th because it has so many different applications, and the topics that are covered are, they are experienced by students at different times throughout high school too. So we see it kind of used in various ways. But this resource is kind of like your financial literacy 101. It covers banking, taxes, income, how to save, how to manage credit and debt, how to apply for financial aid. So students get to actually fill out a FAFSA form. They also get to fill out a W-2. So it's all of those kind of crucial skills that we all wish we had learned a little bit sooner. Students are actually getting to work through those in like real life settings, simulations in this program. I should also mention too that this resource is highly aligned with the new personal finance standards for the personal finance mandate. This, along with our marketplaces course, that's all about investing and growing your wealth. Those are great resources to use to start to cover the majority of those standards. So if you are tasked with that or know someone at your school that is, feel free to share this with them and my information, and I'm happy to talk them through that. Okay, 2 more resources here, and I'll take a quick moment of pause. Mental wellness basics. This is all about exactly what it says, mental wellness basics. So a lot of times we, in health education, we're taking a lot of time to focus on physical health and nutrition, which are very important. But thankfully, we've been able to also create a resource that allows students to focus just on mental health. So they're learning about all the different components and pieces of mental health. They're learning about different strategies to cope with anxiety and stress and challenges that they may be facing. They're able to identify when others need help and when they themselves need help, and they can seek treatment for that. Any symptoms or causes of mental disorders. This is a very scenario-based learning experience for students, so they are interacting with peers within the resource that are going through things, and they're helping those people to, identify and make the right choices. So I love this resource for many reasons, but I love how interactive it is. There are 4 lessons here, each are 15 minutes, and we see this used anywhere from grades 8 to 10. And then last but not least, I did want to highlight prescription drug safety. We see this used, again, in a variety of ways in the state. We see it used in health education, health science, nursing classes. We see it used for remediation, like with in-school suspension, out-of-school suspension. But this resource was created 2 years ago in response to the opioid epidemic. So kind of similar to how we created or are creating the vaping resource in response to that. And it focuses on prescription drug safety from a public health lens. So it is equipping students with all the facts that they need to know about opioid misuse. They learn about the chemical properties of different drugs, the science of addiction, how to refuse, if it's being offered, how to support themselves and others if they are in a place of need. And one thing that we found in our impact report this year was that after students went through this course, they felt significantly more confident in being able to support a friend if they were in trouble. And I think that's like one of the greatest outcomes that you could get from a course like this, because our students are sometimes the first responders, if you will, because they see their peers more often, they talk with them more often, they know them very well and can identify changes in their behaviors. And so I think it's awesome that we are supporting them and encouraging them and giving them the tools they need to be able to support their friends if that time did ever come. Okay, that was a lot, and there are many more resources that I did not share, but those were the most popular and ones that I wanted to highlight for you guys. So I'm going to switch back over to look at the chat because I would love to hear from you guys how you might incorporate these resources into your lesson plan. So I know we are trying to plan for this fall, and maybe you don't have things set in stone just yet, but I would love to see what ideas you have for incorporating these, or maybe which resource you are most excited about exploring a little further. So I'm going to switch over so I can see your all's responses. So feel free to share how you might use them, what you might use, maybe what you want to look into a little more. All right, so financial literacy. Perfect. And no answer is a bad answer or a wrong answer. These are all just ideas that we can share together so we can kind of hear what others are thinking. Yep, business unit, financial literacy, social emotional. Perfect. And I think too, after I share some implementation ideas, it might get your wheels turning a little bit more too. Good deal. All right. Well, I will switch back over there here in just a moment, but I'm going to get back to it so we can stay on time here. So I did want to share with you guys some resources that are going to be helpful in helping you execute and implement the resources. So first is the offline resources I mentioned earlier. On the left, that's a screenshot of the teacher dashboard. Under that resources tab next to your course, you can see all the different ones that are offered. And then on the right, that is an example of a offline student activity that we created in response to the need for more paper resources for students. So if there is a particular resource that you are interested in using and you know that you have students that don't have access to technology, reach out to me and I can send you the corresponding offline student activity so that you have that handy as you're planning. Some other resources that I can provide on the left, this is a 2-week content playlist. So it's broken down by grade band and it selects different resources and kind of shows you how they can be spread out over the course of 2 weeks and the different learning objectives that are covered. On the right, that's an example of a curriculum map from, I think it was a relationships course in a family consumer science teacher's class, and I went in to visit her students, and while I was there we were talking about all the different alignment that I was noticing with EverFi and what she needed to cover. So she printed out her curriculum map and I went through and wrote in the different resources that would align to those standards that she was covering. And so I'm happy to do that for you too. So if you know that you have some gaps in your curriculum and you're not sure what to use, or maybe you want to try something new this year, I'm happy to provide that kind of support as well. All right, a quick highlight about the scholarships. So students are eligible for the general scholarship for EverFi. It's a $1,000 529 college savings scholarship. All they need to do is complete a resource and be certified in it. So they need to score at least a 70 or higher on each module, and then they can apply for this scholarship. We also have a scholarship for EverFi Financial Literacy and a scholarship for Venture, which is an entrepreneurship course that we offer as well. And if you're interested in learning about those, just shoot me an email because it kind of depends on where you are, who your sponsor is for that. It would be either BB&T or Fifth Third Bank, but I'm happy to share more information about that as well. Okay, so now I'm going to take some time to show you what it looks like to get started on EverFi. And the expectation here is really that you're just kind of following along and listening. Do not feel that you have to like split your screen and do this as I'm doing it. I just wanted to walk you through the process so that when you do go to do it, it's not the first time you've seen it. And since we're recording, if you want to watch this back, you can listen to it while you do it. But it's a pretty simple process, and I also have a quick start guide that I need to remember to chat in here at the end of this, so you have that as well to refer to. If you're new to EverFi, you're going to create an educator account. If you happen to be a district or in a district that is on the screen here, you will not need to create an account. You will just need to sign into Clever and then find the EverFi icon on your Clever dashboard and click there. It will automatically launch you into your EverFi dashboard. And I will mention too, if again, if you are in a Clever integrated district with us, your students will also access EverFi through Clever. So the nice thing about this is it's single sign-on. Students don't need to create accounts and have to remember usernames and passwords. And the Clever integration also will pull in your Infinite Campus rosters into your teacher dashboard so that when you create your classes, you're just assigning resources to those rosters. I am going to walk through the different capabilities of the dashboard, but I wanted to point that out. So again, if you're in one of these districts, you're going to need to sign in through Clever. And if you're not sure how to do that, send me an email and I can help you figure it out. Okay, so once you have either signed in through Clever or you created your teacher account, this is what you'll see as your teacher dashboard. And I'm going to point out some different features here. So first thing you're going to want to do is add some courses to your dashboard. So these might be courses that you just want to explore, learn a little bit more about, or maybe you know, I'm going to use Future Goals Math. I teach math. This is a great way to incorporate what I want into my classroom. So you'll go into the course catalog by clicking Add Course, and then you'll be able to scroll through and look for resources that you want to add to your dashboard. Once it's on your dashboard, you'll be able to view the course, so you can go through the digital experience just like students. I will say, as you move through the course, it will let you click through a little bit faster than it's going to let students, and that's because it realizes that you're a teacher and it gives you certain permissions that we don't give students. So it will pace students, they can't click ahead. It's going to read out loud to students, and there is closed captioning as well. So that's one great way to experience EverFi, but I'm sure you guys don't have just a ton of spare time. So if you need a quick view of what's covered in each resource, click that resource button and look at the course outline. That's going to show you each lesson and then the different learning objectives that are covered. So that would be like your easiest, quickest way to see what your students are going to get when they go through that resource. On the right, that is a discussion guide. So, you can utilize those in so many different ways too. But just don't forget about those offline resources. They are awesome, and we're always adding to them. And I want you all to be able to take advantage of those. All right, so another important aspect of the teacher dashboard is being able to view your student progress. So in order to do this, you would click on your reports tab. Then you would choose which resource you want to look into. And then from there, it's going to pull up and show you every student that has logged in. Their name will appear. If their name is not there, that means they have not logged in and gotten started. And then it will show you which lesson they're on and what their post-assessment score is. If you want to view their pre-assessment scores, you'll click next to their name where it says View, and it will show you a more detailed view. Couple things to point out here on the right, it says certified, yes or no. So if a student has completed a resource and they've scored a 70 or higher, they are considered certified. And from that, you will be able to print student certificates to show that they have completed it. So it's a nice little incentive, especially for our younger students. But if you have older students that are in need of like adding certificates to our portfolio or something like that, you can print them out for your older students as well. I did too want to show what the student dashboard looks like, and I'm not going into the class creation portion just because it does look different from like a traditional teacher standpoint versus Clever. But basically, you would just create a class either from your Clever roster or just manually create, Miss Sloan first period. You would add the resources that you want to assign, and then this is what the students see. So for our traditional users, you will give students a registration code that's associated with your class. They'll use that code when they register for the first time, very similar to how you do, and then it adds them to your class. For Clever, they will automatically get added because it recognizes that they're an Infinite Campus. So this is what all students see regardless of Clever or not. They see your course assignments, and then they can kind of hover over and it will show the breakdown of progress where they are, which is a great feature for students to know how to utilize, but also parents if you're kind of relying on them to help you check in. All right, so now some implementation tips before I let you guys go. We have about 10 minutes or so. I wanted to share how we've seen EverFi be used in the past couple months, as it looks like things might be a little similar this fall. We've seen a huge increase in EverFi being used through Google Classroom. So if that's you, or maybe you use a different platform, EverFi can be linked. So you'll see down there at the bottom, they have linked the login for EverFi. They've linked a student quick start guide. That's something that I can supply you with. And then really explicit instructions on what they are being assigned. If that's something that you would like me to help you craft, I'm more than happy to do that. I don't want you all spending hours trying to figure out where to tell students where to go and what to do. That's something that would take me 5 minutes. So again, reach out if you want help with that. But you can assign, individual lessons like this teacher did, or you can just say, hey, this is on your dashboard. You have this 9 weeks to complete it. By the end of the 9 weeks, it needs to be done. And you can kind of let students self-pace. Totally up to you how you want to do it. We've also seen teachers utilize our discussion guides to kind of facilitate further conversation, which is hard to do, especially in a remote learning environment. So they'll go in, look for questions from the discussion guide, and then post those to like a forum or a discussion board and encourage students to reply back to each other. This is a great way to check for understanding too, and kind of assess students to make sure that they actually went through the digital course. We've seen EverFi used in early finisher choice boards. So if you have some students that like to move really quickly through their assignments, you can add EverFi as an option for them to work on when they're done. And again, I said this before, but there is no rule book. You can utilize EverFi however you want to. So you can use an entire resource, you can use individual lessons, you can use it to introduce topics, to reinforce skills, or even at the end of a unit to kind of wrap things up. Something else we've seen a lot of the past couple months is sharing EverFi on social media. So I like to encourage teachers to get creative as much as they feel comfortable with sharing assignments and praise online through different social media platforms. Parents are very active on social media, and so I think it is kind of a neat and creative way to communicate with them and to stay in touch. And I love on the right that example of a teacher kind of shouting out a student on Twitter for the hard work that they've done working on EverFi. So I think, you know, in times when we're trying to get creative in how we connect with students and keeping that relationship going, I just wanted to put this up as a reminder and something that we're seeing. I am going to share the quick start guide here in just a moment so that you have that. If you need any other kind of, you know, paper, PDF resource that you think would be helpful, feel free to ask. We are always creating new custom collateral for you guys just to make anything a little bit easier. We want to do that for you all. And a few more tips and ideas before I switch back to you guys. As you're thinking about this school year, I just encourage you to find a place for EverFi that makes sense. Don't force it. As a former teacher, you are juggling, I know you're juggling so many different priorities and needing to check a lot of boxes and wanting to take care of your students. So don't let this be something that we add to your plate. But if you know you have a gap or if you are wanting to try something new, then EverFi is a great option for that. Think about technology needs. So if we are in school and you need to reserve technology, make sure you consider that while you're planning. And then if we're not in school or we're relying on virtual learning and students don't have access to technology, we can help out with sending you those student offline activities too. And then making sign-in a breeze. If you are a traditional teacher, so you're not on the clever list, your students will need to create usernames and passwords, and I highly suggest that they use like their school email and password that they're used to using so that it's not another username and password that they are more likely to forget. All right, so I'm gonna take any questions you guys have at this point. I am gonna throw up these links and my Twitter handle as well, just so you see that again. But I'm gonna switch back over and take the next 5 or so minutes to answer any questions you guys may have. And I'm also going to chat in the teacher quick start guide so you guys have that too. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen though first. So any questions you have, feel free to chat those in. Or if you feel comfortable and want to come off mute and ask me something, you're welcome to do that as well.
Hey guys, and I just wanted to say real quick, Morgan again, that I want to say thank you for those who filled out the Google form. It looks like there were maybe still maybe a few more that needed to fill it out, but thank you so much for doing that. And Mara, that was such a great presentation.
Thank you. I just chatted in the teacher quick start guide. So if you're more of like a visual learner and you want to have that to refer to as you're going through and creating your account, we have that available for you. And I'll also type in my email here too, just so it's in another place. But yeah, if you don't have any questions, that's it for me. Again, I just want to thank you guys so much for your time, and because I know you all have a million things going on and you are juggling families and kids and jobs. So I just want to thank you guys so much for everything you're doing for our school communities.